Hello, I'm here now to review the first example problem 5 in unit number 2. This is going to be discussing, and we're going to be discussing the for next and the loop scenario. In fact, this example problem will have two different kinds of loops in it to give you a look at two buttons generating two different types of loops. So it's not just one loop, there's going to be two loops in this program. So again, I'm in Canvas and I'm going to go ahead and expand Canvas. In the overview, I gave you some minor directions to debrief yourself on the review the clear and exit button, review specific data types and message boxes before we get into the lesson today. But you can see the notes on for next automatic counter loop, which is an example problem 5. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you guys to go there via the advanced programming link here. So if I simply get into the advanced programming web resources, and I'm already there, I'm in module 2. If I scroll down, you can see the link right here, which I'm then going to open up in a new tab, and it should open up. Okay, so as this page is opening up, again, just to let you know, once you get the program running, and I'll review this with you, if you can do a screenshot of the form in the code. So we're leaving console application programming, and this is really the first for this class this year, the first time you're doing window application. And I'm going to review those steps with you to launch the program, so you're getting into the right location of the Visual Studio's program correctly. Okay, so you will have to have a Word document with the form in the code in the screenshot uploaded, and I'll review that at the end. So the for next is kind of like the do while and do until, but it's more catered to the window aspects. And this is a basic, and it'll review this. This is simply a basic that will output approximately 5 numbers, okay, and it'll loop 5 times, and then it'll hold and return. But okay, that's a console view. So again, we're going to be looking at the window application a little bit. But I mean, read these notes up above. Okay, so if I scroll down and I jump into then talking about this application and what's going to be going on when you're building it. Okay, so there's a picture. You can see right here. I just drew on any picture down, and you can see putting that picture in that picture box. Okay, so in some instance that we have event and reset event 1, event 2, and reset event 2. Okay, event 1 will be dealing with this text box here where you're going to be doing that counting. I'll look at the code here shortly. And event 2 will then take the steps to move this picture across. You'll be able to move this picture across this form by clicking this event. So we have an event 1, reset event 2, reset event 2, and then obviously the exit button. All right. So if I scroll down here, I do talk about some of the controls right here, multi-line property for this text box. I do talk about the scroll bar being vertical, so you can see some minor, and text box should be empty or blank. I then talk about the name property of these controls, the button, picture, and text box. Try to rename them. Like if I go back and let you know the name text box is TXT, we can go at TXT event 1, TXT reset event 1, TXT event 2, TXT reset event 2. Now in the property windows, you got to remember you cannot have spaces on those, okay? And so maybe if I'll get to that in the notes, I'll do so. So then here's a snapshot of each of those buttons, 1, 2, 3, 4. I didn't give you a snapshot of exit, but in your notes it was me close. But you can see I have referred to as button 1, button 2, button 3, button 4. Well, I don't want to see that on the code. I want to see something relevant to TXT event 1. TXT reset event 1. Okay, so these controls, properties, names become more relevant. Okay, so short little for next statement here is going to loop 20 times. Okay, and you can see the loop that's going on here in terms of trying to process out. Okay, so that'll clear, reset will clear that text box, and then we get into the images, and this is basically going to take different steps moving this picture on the form over to the right. Okay, so understand we have do have actually the button down here, and the button 4 will be relocating that to the original point that I've specified here. So just giving you a little taste of what two different events, two different so this is going to be these two buttons, and this control is going to be somewhat the first event of the for next. These two buttons will then move this picture, so to speak. So if I was going to go to the Visual Basic, I now have it open right now, and I'm going to go just take some steps to launch a Visual Studio's program for the first time under a window application. Okay, the first module was dealing strictly with console application. I now want to deal with window application. Okay, now that my window application, or my new project application window has opened up, just want to talk about some things. We're going to be switching from the console application to the window application. So I'm asking about everybody at this time, when you're starting this program, make sure you click on the window form application. Now, taking it further, and this might have been your default in terms of saving your document. Let's hit the browse, everybody, one time, and you notice when I hit browse, I see the two folders. Okay, and I'm pointing. I was in advanced programming, and I see two folders, and we had moved a lot of stuff into module 1 during the overview period of time. So now I'm asking everybody, let's go ahead and click on module 2. And so when I go into module 2, it's pointing into and trying just to separate my files a little bit. So once again, I'm going to ask you guys to keep this simple and call it example 5 if you want to. So I'm going to go now, simply go and click on the OK button to launch this program and open up this program. Okay, now that my form has opened up, understand as I'm reviewing this, and you should have had your feet wet with this program in the window form last time, look at the toolbar, okay? The toolbar is not pinned up, and I'm going to review some logistics. I can pin this up, okay? So I now have a pinned toolbox. I can take the commons, and these are going to be the common controls. Now there's window form controls, which is all the controls, and then the common controls, which I'm saying, for this class right now, let's use the commons. We will be digesting some other components down here as well, but for this module, I think we'll be able to use the common controls. Now, if you had any issues open up a form in the past, let me review this with you. If I close this tab right here, the program's still open. And if, let's say, it opens up and you want to get to the form, you can simply click on the form right here, and that'll open that form. So as you know, there's no controls on my form right now. It's just the form, and this properties is dealing with the form. And that's where I'm going to start real quick and just understand. I didn't really give you guys a title for this and just said form 1. Maybe I should have, but I'm going to start there with this minor lecture of this. And let's just call this, if I go to the form and I scroll down here and I type in the following, okay? I type in example problem number 5, and then I simply hit enter. You can see how the example problem number 5 then appears up in this title. Now I also want to go up to the name, and I'll work with you, and this should be practice with you. And if I highlight form 1 and I type in FRM, and I just type in example, let me just go example 5, okay? So understand, when you're dealing with the name property with the parentheses, which is this property, which will show up on the code aspects, FRM and example 5 with no spaces in the middle, okay? So simply got our form established. If I flop on back over to the website, and then I have a visual, and you can understand these are buttons in the text box. picture box and the text box. So you're gonna have to download this, and let's try to drag this into that folder, okay? You can right click and save image as, and you should be able to get a target to that, okay? So if I just put a couple of these controls on this form to wrap this up, like if I take a button and I put a button over here, for example, and then I take a text box, all right? Now, part of my directions in the text box was to make this multiple lines. I think if you go back to the form, I do discuss with you about the multiple line property with the of the text box object being true. So if I go back to the program and scroll down and find the M's, and the M should have something that says multiple line. Right now it's set on false. So if I take that true, okay, I have that capability now of making this box, you see, bigger. Okay, there's another set property, then set the scroll bar property of the text box to vertical. So by all means, if I then scroll down to the scroll bar and find the scroll bar right here, it's none, and I'll make that vertical. This then is presetting with that. So if I wanted to, let's say, hypothetically change the property of this, and I maybe have to go back and look at the code or something, you can see how the code on this one was called text box 1. I want you to rename this. All right, so maybe you want to call this txt output box. All right, so instead of text box 1 here, it's going to call it something else like txt output. So if I go to the form and I go to the name up here and I go txt output, all right, so I have some sort of common knowledge of what that text box is. And like this button right here is supposed to be event 1. So if I just simply type the event 1, it shows up here. Okay, but if I go back up and do the name, okay, the name property of this, again, this is the button, so it's btn, okay, and I'm just going to call it event 1, okay? So that's all the controls I'm putting on right now. I think you can indulge with doing step 1 and 2 by putting your controls and renaming, and you flop back around. I'm now going to, again, review the code. You don't see the tab for the code on. If I go back to the browser again, you can see there's 1 private sub, 2 private sub, 3 private sub, 4 private sub, 5 private subs. Truly, ladies and gentlemen, for the reason that there are going to be 5 buttons on this. So if I just simply click on this first button here, okay, and let this load up, it should load up the code. And there it is, the code. And you can see how by me changing the form to FRM example problem 5 in the properties, it took that, okay? So I only put two controls on the form, but you can see now that we have 1 private sub nested in here. And so be honest, guys, we may have saw some issues in the classroom when you're taking programming. Now it's a lot of times you guys deleting this end class or deleting the public class or trying to rename the form here. You cannot name the FRN example problem 5 here. You would have to go back to the property windows to do that. Okay, so please do not ever delete this. I'm never going to ask you to type in the private sub line. It's pre-generated code by the Visual Basic, but the code that would go inside the private BTN event would be then, ladies and gentlemen, for example, this is a code right here. It would start with dim and go down to the next, and this would generate that 0. So you put another button on there, that would be that resetting that button of that window, like a clear button almost. Okay, and again, that would most likely be txt output. So you have to interpret my code a little bit and put your own ideas in changing these properties names. So let's say you get all the code done. I'm back to the program. You should have a flyer box. You need to capture the flyer box. The flyer box can be found in the objective of the course resource page. Copy the box, put it in there, come up with your own notion of what the purpose of this purpose will show an example of the for next loop. Okay, that's simple enough. For next loop, that's giving you some sort of idea what it's about. So when the program's running, for example, You're going to do a snapshot of the form, and I have a Word document open here. Okay, and then you paste that form on there. Then when you get to design time, come back here and copy copy all of the code, and do your best to copy it. If you have to have two windows, you can. You copy that code, put that in the Word document as well, right down below here, the code here. So when saving this, for example, if I go File, Save As, and I browse, and I very well may have already saved this, you're going to save this example 5 followed by your first and last name. So when you do it in a Dropbox, I should be seeing a Word document with the example problem 5 with your first and last name. So I think that's what I spell out in the directions down below. In terms of turning this in this virtual, you can have a file, example 5. Okay, please put your first and last name on it, and go back to the module. In the module, you'll then be submitting, as you can see, you'll then be submitting this in the Dropbox up above. So for the most part, this concludes the example problem 5. These are participation grades, so I think this is good code for you guys to get your feet wet with working with the window application.